Good evening, all. Happy New Year. The first order of the agenda is the tax collector, Martin Sheehan.
Okay.
He is on his way, or?
No, he's going to come Tuesday.
Okay. And I just want to say Commissioner Milazzo is absent this evening.
So the first item on the agenda is the discussion update. One is going to be a presentation by our tax collector, Martin Sheehan, on the status of the tax receipts for 2022. He's going to be doing that on Tuesday night because he's going to be closing out and I think doing his final receipts for 2022 this week. So I'll have a more accurate number for you on Tuesday night. But I think he's probably about 98.5% collected, which is about 1% higher than what we normally budget, which is a good thing. And then he also has an agenda item under manager's item that we can get to. But yeah, and I think moving forward, he'll probably come out when the tax bills go out in March, come back and, every 3 months to kind of give you guys an update with what's going on. He's trying to be a little bit more open and transparent with the processes he has and getting feedback from the residents at that point too. So item B, and this is for just for staff's direction, the potential bike lanes and sharrows on Burnside Avenue. We had a follow-up from the county, what's the township's position on that, just because we had to send a request letter to PennDOT to have those added as part of the paving project for the spring of 2023. So at this point, staff, meaning myself and Mr. Valio, went out and looked at it. We're supportive of the bike lanes on the lower section of between Main and Marshall, just because it ties into a potential future paving of Marshall Street that could tie in bike lanes there. The sharrows, I think it's kind of hit or miss just because people do use that road to bike now. So if anything, we would make it safer for them. I just don't know if it would encourage more people to use that. Because I know the chief and I have been talking with residents there because we do have some concerns with speeding. That's why we did have the traffic, the speed detail signs out on the upper part of Burnside Avenue, and they seem to work. So at this point, we're just waiting for what your feedback and your direction would be. Should we send that letter to PennDOT requesting that, or let this issue kind of go away?
Can we change our mind? Like once the arrows are painted, if we see that it's either not effective or not meeting the goals that we had envisioned, is that something we can kind of reverse course on, no pun intended?
I mean, I believe since we're going to be responsible for the maintenance of them, I would say we probably have some say in removing them.
I'd like to know that. I mean, generally it's a good idea to me, but I would just
We'll
like
follow
to know
up with
that
Matt Edmonds
if there's
tomorrow.
Negative feedback from either the residents.
It comes with a PennDOT permit, so that goes with the road. So that's why they're asking for that letter ahead, so they know that the next time we repave that road, that all the line paving that will be done, that's all encompassed in one permit. So, I mean, I'm sure we can change it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not our road, but, I'd have to agree with Mr. Boaston and the chief. I'm not real keen on those shallows in the areas. It's really tight areas.
They were planning to pave that in this year, right?
Yes, spring of this year, yeah.
Yeah, because my issue with the sharrows is there's some deterioration on the side with but if they pave, I would imagine they'll clean that up and there will be a little bit more safety for the
because the
bike.
sharrows wouldn't be installed until after the road's repaved, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't put them in ahead of any of that. So
Yeah, but they're not planning on doing any widening of any sort, just to where the pavement is
yeah,
now?
they'll probably look at lane widths and maybe shrink some lanes down, especially in the lower part. But I probably would see most of the striping that's out there is going to remain in place width-wise and things like that. The only thing we're looking at, and Mike and I have talked about, is putting in a more visible crosswalk on Burnside at Oakland for people coming over to the park. There's more visible ones you can put in that have more of a hash mark. So we did put additional signage out there as a traffic calming measure, and it seems to be working. Our next step is we were going to provide the traffic data we got from the signage to PennDOT to see if they would give us permission to mount a permanent speed sign on that roadway. Because it seems to have worked based upon the numbers that we saw. I mean, it did slow people down, so.
I mean, and the vehicle code allows for bikes to ride on the road. They have to obey the rules of the road, just as a vehicle, a car. But the only concern with the lines, people may have a false sense of security when they're driving on those. They're feeling, the operator of the vehicle doesn't realize they have that path, so that's a concern.
There'll be some education that's gonna have to go with that, whether we use our newsletters and things like that, but we're gonna have to put some, what that signage actually means on that roadway.
And then, of course, it's gonna end, and you're gonna have areas where there are no bike lanes. There's no room for them.
In West Norton or East Norton?
Well, when you go over the bridge on Burnside,
Yeah,
you're not gonna have any, I don't believe you can put a.
And that's unique on that side of the bridge. East Narden actually owns Burnside Avenue. So they maintain it and plow it. So,
Yeah, that would be confusing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we can follow up with Matt tomorrow on the question of whether we can remove them after the fact, and then get you an answer, and then you can give us some direction on Tuesday night, whether you want to give us a thumbs up to write the letter or not.
But I mean, I feel like we're generally receptive to the idea. I don't mean to kind of just like.
No, it's-
Be the only
Yeah, I think we
voice
could
here.
just decide right now. Could get right?
I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was for the Sharrows, but listening to, the chief and you, it does make a lot of sense to not have them, just because of the,
I mean, would you be supportive if we wrote a letter saying we support the bike lanes on the lower section, but not the showers on the upper section?
I was going to say that. I'd hate to throw out the bike lane with the baby, the bike lane up to Marshall, I guess is.
yeah, I want to keep that,
Yeah,
for sure.
okay.
But,
That seems reasonable to me.
So we'll write a letter saying you're supportive of the bike lanes, but not the showers from Marshall North. Okay.
but Marty, would you prefer to see if they can remove them first, to leave that option in?
I mean, I think that, in my opinion, the best course would be apply for them, mention them, and then somehow condition it that, based on something. I don't know, I
Yeah,
haven't
can
thought
we
that
do
far
that?
ahead.
At least
At
leave
least
it open.
reserve the
For the
option.
Sharrows?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
reserve.
I'm sure, I'll get with Colleen, we can draft a letter that's, encompassing of those,
Okay.
conditions, so,
All right.
okay.
Because at least that might give us the flexibility should something change, whatever that might be.
I mean, the one thing and it's difficult for us when we talk about this, is that people already are using those roads, if there's ways we can make it safer for them. You don't want to discourage that, but you also want to make sure that people know what these actually markings mean too. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword for us right now, just because people do use it to commute. They commute to Germantown and, things like that. We do see not professionals, but more of the, on-road cyclists that use that roadway, so. All right, so Colleen and I will come
I'm
up.
opposed to the Sharrows entirely. Just, yeah,
I mean, my feeling based on I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's okay. No, I just thought it was important that I speak up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my feeling based on the feedback from everybody is I'd like to have the option, but not necessarily implement it. I mean, I feel like if rather than write multiple letters or ask for exceptions, once we've already gotten our permissions or, given PennDOT the direction we want, I mean, I'm a little ambivalent on it, but I think that might be the best for operationally speaking, is to just kind of have the option to do it.
Okay, well then Colleen and I will draft a letter, circulate it with the board as fast as we can get it done. That way you get your feedback and see how you guys feel about it. And then we'll get that over to Matt at the County Planning Commission.
In the, I live on Burnside right there, and in the warm weather months, there are a lot of bikers that are, professional level groups going down there, so having an option may be a safety concern, to help. I mean, they do sort of ride in packs. I don't know, I don't think there's an easy answer, but I think having an option is a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, then Colleen and I, we had the draft letter from them. I'll get with Colleen tomorrow and we'll come up with a draft letter and circulate it to the board and get your feedback and we'll go from there. Okay, under managers' items, item A, and Mr. Sheehan can expand on this a little bit more on Monday, would be consider adopting Resolution 23-1697, implementing a property tax penalty waiver provision. This is a result of Act 57 of 2022, which was amendment to the local tax collection law that was signed by Governor Wolf in July and took effect in October. The act requires taxing districts that impose taxes on the assessed value of real property to adopt a resolution directing the tax collector to waive additional charges for real estate taxes in certain circumstances. Those circumstances for the waiver or for real property transfers, the qualifying event would be for purposes of real property, the date of the transfer of ownership. For manufactured homes, the date of transfer of ownership or date of a lease agreement commences. But what it does is provides a waiver of the request of additional charges on a form that the State Department of Community and Economic Development would provide to the tax collector, but then the resident would have to attest that the tax notice was not received. That provides the tax collector in possession of the claim with one of the following: a copy of the deed showing the date of the real property transfer, a copy of the title following the acquisition of the mobile home, blah, 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 and pays the face value of the amount of tax notice for real estate tax with the waiver request. So what they're pretty much doing is requesting the waiver of the penalty, paying the face value, should they be able to attest that the tax notice was not received. Unfortunately, this was passed by the state, and pretty much the municipalities were told to adopt these resolutions. So we really don't have a lot of discretion in this process, but it does give our residents a process to make it easier for them to request these waivers, because we do have new owners that come in, whether they don't get their interim bill and things like that, where there is a need for this process. It's just having to go through the process enough times to know how they can prove that they did not get the bill. Because any person can just walk and say, I didn't get my tax bill this year, I'm going to fill out the attest and then waive my penalties. Because before, we treated it on a case-by-case basis. Myself, the business manager from the school district, and the county treasurer's office had to each individually sign off on this. So at least there's a provision for the tax collector to waive this and that. So it could be a good thing. It's more about the execution of this right now, so we're kind of working through the process. But the first step is to at least adopt this resolution. And Mark can expand upon it a little bit more on Tuesday night. But if we want to be able to get this option to our residents, we have to adopt this resolution, so.
So, I mean, you kind of mentioned in a way, like, it could be abused. Like, if people just say, oh, I didn't get my bill.
Yeah, there's a potential for it. I mean, that at least we have some ways to investigate that, I guess, but it's really going to fall into the resident to be honest, unfortunately, about that.
Okay.
And honestly, we don't get a lot. We might get a handful, and a couple times, most recently were the ones in Markley Farms, the new houses when they were coming on. Some people didn't get their interims, and we had to waive, one house went on the tax bill before it actually got its UNO, and so we had to, clean up a lot of that stuff. But other than that, we really haven't seen a lot of abuse.
Okay.
So I don't want to discourage the board to not adopt this resolution, but at least gives Martin, myself, and Donna a process to through this now.
Great, okay, thank you.
Item B would be consider appointments to the boards and commissions. Kathy last month circulated the terms that are up for reappointment or for those seeking new appointments. There is one item that we'll have to add for Tuesday night, because we do have one board member who has resigned his position ahead of his term expiring. So you will need to accept the resignation of Ed Linkle from the zoning hearing board effective 12/31/22, so you can then make that appointment for his position on Tuesday night. So we'll have his resignation listed as item B, and then item C would be your appointments as listed on the form that was attached to the agenda, so.
Do we have anyone who's applied for that?
For Ed's position, normally, I believe Joan Gray is seeking the full voting position on that, and she's currently the alternate. So then you would have to appoint someone to Joan's term as the alternate. That's if you choose to go that route, which has historically been done previously so. But most people who are seeking reappointment, I know John has a new member for the Recreation Committee that came out as a recommendation, since Matt Newell is not seeking another term on the Recreation Committee. But everyone else at this point is seeking reappointment, including myself, so.
I was just going to ask about, there's people that have either yes or no, but under seeking reappointment, and if, we needed to follow up on.
I believe Mr. Treisbach has indicated he is seeking reappointment. I believe Sue and Barb Harlering have said yes.
That's correct.
Pastor Moser, Roche, and I believe the only one we haven't heard from is Rochelle Wilson, but I believe there is some concern from the HRC about attendance on behalf of that individual. And I believe Ms. Sortino for the Vacancy Board has indicated she wishes to seek reappointment, so. And also the people on the UCC board, but that board has not met in the 10 years I've been here, so. But we'll go out and reconfirm this, and Kathy will send an updated list out for you, hopefully tomorrow. That way you guys have enough time to, make your decisions and your determinations at that point, so. So,
I'd just like to say one thing, excuse me. It seems to me when, someone is seeking a full-time position, and that in the past, it has automatically happened, it seems to me someone should talk to her, and that we don't automatically appoint someone to the full-time position.
I believe Commissioner Milazzo has, but I can't speak for her,
Well, I
she's
mean,
not here, but yeah.
She recommended her to be where she is.
And I think, honestly, the only reason I think historically they have done that is because of the learning curve that comes with that. The alternate sits in those meetings as a non-voting member. So they at least know the process to then move over into that voting term that they would take as the full position. So I think that's why that has historically been that way.
Okay.
That's not to say it doesn't have to be that way. It's just you're relying on their experience as the alternate, sitting there, understanding the process, going through the deliberations with them, even though they're a non-voting member.
Well, somehow, I would like to see that, as the word codified. I mean, I'd like to see us say the non-voting member if they choose.
Yeah. And I know Ms. Gray has indicated she does wish to take the voting position, so.
You see that email?
Yeah, but I believe I've talked to her as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've heard from a very reliable source that she wants to be on the actual.
Yeah. And I believe she actually has filled in as a voting member when a full member has not been able to attend, so she has the experience.
I'm not directly addressing her.
No,
I
I'm-
just meant
I'm just
the
trying to-
process.
Well, that, and I think it's good for the public to understand that this is one of the few boards where you have 3 voting members and a non-voting member that fills in. So we always talk about the alternate, but most people don't understand what the alternate's position is.
Right.
So they're actually the backup in case they need a voting member, because it is quasi judicial under the municipal planning code because it enforces our zoning code, so.
Right. And there's an alternate on the Civil Service Commission.
True, yes, that's the other one, because they do institute discipline and hiring and things like that, so yes. All right, that's it for me.
I don't have any liaison reports this evening, so I'll pass it on to.
I do. I'm very happy to announce that the volunteer members of the Arts and Culture Commission have organized a concert, which is scheduled for Sunday, February 5th. The time is not firm yet. It'll probably be in the afternoon, and it will be the Philadelphia Academy of Vocal Arts. It is a school that's dedicated to providing higher education for singers, and it's the only one in the world that is devoted solely to operatic training and performance. So the singers will be performing a combination of both opera and show tunes. So it should be, oh, I'm sorry, it's going to be at the Church of the Ascension here on Main Street. And please spread it around. We want a great attendance. We've had Dwayne Mosier from the church and the woman from the Academy of Vocal Arts has sent us pictures to help promote it, and we're going to do a strong job of promoting it.
Okay.
Yeah, you let me give me the details and times, all that stuff, we'll definitely get it out there, so.
Yeah, I don't think we have a firm time. I went back and looked at notes and didn't
Once
see
we
it.
get all that, we can put stuff on the sign out front too.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure we can get the firehouse to put it out there in the golf course too, so.
They are as excited as we are to do this.
And we were planning to do this free, but perhaps donations to
To the
the church.
I think we need to talk about that a little bit more.
Right.
And we're waiting for a person to apply as an additional member of the Arts and Culture Commission.
We can add that again to the newsletter, and then also we'll advertise on the Facebook page and the website again.
I think someone is going to be applying
Okay,
this week.
even better then. But is that did we decide that's a 3-person board or a 5-person board?
Originally, I had planned for 5,
But
but
okay.
once we get 3, we can have,
Okay.
we can vote.
Okay,
Yeah,
Commissioner Eccles is really the liaison. I've been kind of the behind-the-scenes guy here, but Commissioner Eccles is really going to be taking over as the liaison.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll want to talk about some possible advertising.
Not a problem.
Can I talk now? The HRC will be hosting a movie called Hidden Figures, which will be down also at the UCC Church on Main Street. So it'll be on January 15th, which is a Sunday, from 1 to 4. And they're going to have a series of movies with in themes of diversity, inclusion, and those kind of subjects. So the discussion will be led by Dr. Monica D'Antonio of the Norristown School Board to discuss how racism and sexism was addressed in the movie. And that'll continue a movie a month on a Sunday for the next, at least 6 months. Mr. Miller?
The EAC did not meet in December, unless you count dinner at Nana Rosa as a meeting.
The Civil Service Commission is meeting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you all. It's time for public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment this evening? Mr. Waters?
Happy New Year, everybody. Waters, number 1 East Indian. Oh. I'm bragging about West Norton, 7 years without a tax increase. You know, I mean, been waiting for that. It's a great team. You know, shame what happened to Eagles, but I don't want to go there. I found some icing on Port Indian Road, and I took some pictures of it, and I actually learned how to use the recorder on the flip phone. So did I do? You know, when I find this stuff, you know, I feel it's my moral obligation to report it. And I kind of don't really have a streamlined way of reporting something like this.
You can do it through our website.
I don't, come on.
Email, we'll teach you the website.
Well, I usually email pictures and stuff to Kathy. And I think at one time she had given me a cell phone number that I could email this type of stuff to.
I'm sorry, in all seriousness, isn't there an option on the website to kind of drop a pin,
Yeah,
like a
so-
GPS related? I'm trying to,
Publicly, I know you're not gonna use it, but if there are residents that do see issues similar to what you're talking about, on the front page of the website, there's a thing called a request tracker, where you can put in the issue, whether it's a street light out, potholes, manhole covers, anything like that. You put in the location, it'll geocode it to a map for us with a description, you can upload a picture of the issue, and then it comes into our website, where we can then generate a maintenance order or a work order on that issue.
And that would be the best way to get stuff addressed?
It makes it easier for us because it automatically gets emailed.
Well, that's what,
It automatically gets emailed directly to the person in charge. So, like, over the weekend, we got an issue about a property on Penburn that went right to Mr. Valio and Mr. Booz about a property maintenance issue. If there's an abandoned car, it goes automatically to the police department. If there's a street light out, it goes to Mr. Valio. So there is a more streamlined way to do that. We can show you how to do that if you want. But
hey, look,
But if there's something like icing on the road, you should call the 1701 number, because that needs to be addressed, and send a car down there and get a truck out there to put salt on.
well, I had already been saying it was really heavily salted, and that's one of the things that it's the drainage ditch that needs to
well,
be.
Mr. Valio, you sent it to Commissioner Smock.
Were they?
They were out there as soon as you texted Commissioner Smock. We had Mr. Valio guys out there to take care of that. So
Oh, wow. You guys are really making me feel good. Seriously, you know, you're giving me what I want, and they're gonna have to go away. Pick on Norristown. But that's where I'm racing back from, Norristown, because they're comments to begin with. So I can hit them with all kind of stuff. All right, well, you know, I mean, it's all good. I'm really happy with you guys, and you keep us safe here, you know? You're doing a great job. I still don't like those vehicles driving around with the blacked out windows and the dark plastic over the license plate where you can't see them. Now, you know, my career at the phone company, I had a lot of fun chasing hit and runs and reporting accidents and, you know, all that good stuff. And one of the most important things was a license. And, well, look, I guess it's like the wipers. It's just one of those things that when something happens, then they fix it, right?
All right, thank you. Could I get a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
A second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, under meeting dates, the EAC is scheduled to meet February 8th at 7 PM. The Recreation Committee will meet on January 11th at 7 PM. The Academy is meeting on January 11th at 6:30 PM, and I believe the topic will be the Environmental Advisory Committee.
That's right.
Okay. The Planning Commission is scheduled to meet on January 16th at 7 PM. There is no zoning hearing board. And the Human Relations Commission will be meeting on January 26th at 7 PM, but they also have their movie on January 15th at 1 PM at the Church of the Ascension. So if there's a flyer or anything for that, Commissioner Pavone, you want us to get out, we'll gladly advertise that for you. Okay.
Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone. Thanks for getting out there so fast.
No,
If he's